For She Wept, written by Kiriakos, Vilchez, read by Sabia Myre. As humanity marched towards oblivion, the great danger loomed ahead. Yet, they only concerned themselves as to who would succumb to destiny first. Who would take the first plunge? Will it be me? Shall it be you? None had an answer, for as long as time had dictated, they thought as many, and not as one. They wanted to be first, yet none would go first here. So they squabbled as the great beast of totality lumbered forward, its eyes transfixed on the truth of their division. A division of species, this unbridled, fiery desire to speak louder, fight harder, and to take more, which was leading them to their unified fate. As they lived amongst other creatures, the humans had demanded control of each other and all things, the land, the sky, the waters, the evergreen hamlets, and the majestic peaks. They wanted to have it all, and to determine how to destroy it all as well. They built and built and built, until they realized they had taken so much of the land that the cries of the little creatures who had lived there were muffled by the legacy of human dominion. Yet the humans kept building more. They spoke different tongues, yet they all spoke the same thing. They were the masters of this world, of this earth, and ordained until the next. They shared this for generation after generation, from text to text, until it was customary for the brothers and sisters of this earth of all cultures to be better than the next, to take more from the next, to reap what they sowed, yet become the reaper of the crops as well. Time marched on, and so did they. Huts turned into spires, and later into skyscrapers. Swords morphed into muskets, and roared later as tanks. The shouting got louder, and she shielded her ears. The bloodshed ran colder, and she turned away in disgust. The cries of her other children begged her for reprieve, as the humans only demanded more. They felt they deserved it. They may have been shrouded in creeds, huddled in nations, and in defense of their way of life, but they all hollered to the heavens the same thing: control, and they wanted more of it. So she grew tired of them. She had breathed into them her life, but it was still not enough. She had embraced them, yet they only pushed her away. She had given them the power to think, but they thought nothing of her anymore. Her children didn't know just how small they really were, how small they always were. So, with a heaviness in her bosom, she summoned the seas they had been poisoning. She shook the broken earth upon which they stood. Their crops withered and their sky blackened. Their nations crumbled, and they began begging for forgiveness. They would change. They would all change. But it was too late. Her way was the only way. She corrected what must be corrected. Their ingenuity and virtuousness had been overshadowed by their callousness and hubris. "How dare you?" she boomed back. And they had no good answer, for they never had one. So, as they clambered over one another, fleeing from the fires of destiny, the little creatures watched. From the seas, from the earth, and from the skies, they watched as their masters were fed to the jaws of fate. And they didn't feel so little anymore. For if the masters of their world could be humbled so, then they were never their masters at all. They were little creatures like them. Little creatures who thought they knew better than her, better than their mother. So they pitied the humans as the good among them had, the good humans who were now paying for the sins of the many. And the little creatures wept. At the end of it all, she wept not for her actions against them, but for theirs, the humans, who had come so far yet learned so little, had written themselves out of her good graces. While they feared each other, the enemy they should have feared was what they had believed all along, that they were in control. As they crumbled into ash, the last of the humans wept in acceptance of their truth, their gnawing, unforgivable truth. They weren't in control. They never had been.